Committee of the Whole meeting to order. The time is 11 a.m. I would like to acknowledge that the City of Maple Ridge carries out its business on the traditional unceded territory of the Katzie First Nation and the Kwantlen First Nation. Madam Clerk, can you please provide us with an overview of the meeting procedures?
Thank you. Good morning. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded and will be available to the public for playback on our website in accordance with Council Policy 3.12. The Committee of the Whole is the initial venue for Council to review information to ensure that Council can debate and vote on issues at a future Council meeting. No voting takes place on bylaws during the Committee of the Whole. This meeting is being conducted through the city's one meeting platform. However, Council will be voting by manually raising cards, green for in favor, red opposed, and yellow point of order. We will manually take notes of the votes and log them into the system. To be put on the speaker list, please physically raise your hand so that the chair can add you to the list. For members of the public who would like to speak during the community forum, if you're participating electronically, please register as a speaker by clicking on the microphone icon in the one meeting portal and turn on your camera and clearly state your name and city of residence before beginning your comments. If you're in the gallery, please come forward to the podium when the chair invites speakers. Clearly state your name and city of residence before beginning your comments. And lastly, please remember to silence your phone so as to not distract from the meeting. That concludes our opening statement. Madam Chair, the first item on today's agenda is the approval of the agenda.
Thank you. Does any member of Council have any changes to the agenda? Make sure I'm remembering Councillor Doze here. Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Moved by Councillor Curris, seconded by Councillor Youssef. All those in favor? That is unanimous. The agenda is approved. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the adoption of the minutes.
Thank you. We have the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting of May 2nd, 2023. Are there any amendments to the minutes? Seeing none, can I get a motion to adopt the minutes as circulated? Moved by Councillor Chris, seconded by Councillor Youssef. All those in favor? That is unanimous. The minutes are adopted. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is item 4.1, a delegation from Friends in Need Food Bank Society. I believe Mary Robson is here to present.
Welcome, Mary.
It's awkward. So I'd like to just give you a bit of background. First of all, good morning to Council and Sunny and the staff. Just to give you a bit of background on the Friends in Need Food Bank, in the early 80s, it was just a group of concerned citizens, several community initiatives that food banking began in this community. And then in 1993, the society was officially formed, and that was 30 years ago. So what we thought was going to be a temporary measure in the 80s is now permanent. We don't see the end of food banking at all. And we are members of the Food Banks BC and Food Banks Canada, and as members of the national and provincial organizations, we adhere to a code of conduct and operational standards. The Friends in Need Food Bank exists because of its volunteers who religiously attend every week to do their assigned tasks. And without the volunteers, there would be no operation. The total number of hours our Maple Ridge volunteers gave in 2022 was over 16,000 hours. And in 2022, the number of unique household registrations was over 1,000, almost 1,100, with over 1,900 unique members. Our average number of households served per month now is over 650. 33% of those members are children and youth under the age of 18, and 30% are seniors 55 plus. In 2022, we saw 385 new household registrations. These are not re-registrations. It does not include re-registrations. Although these numbers are alarming, in the first quarter of 2023, we've already seen 154 new household registrations. And if this trend continues by the end of the year, we could see up to 600 new households registering with the Friends in Need Food Bank. This can be partially attributed to newcomers in our community, but it's also due to the cost of living and that families just can't make ends meet anymore. So we're seeing a lot of families who didn't need the food bank for several years coming back. We operate 3 food banks in Maple Ridge, Pitt Meadows, and the Maple Ridge Senior Center. And the number of unique members at the Seniors Food Bank is now over 83 or up to 83. And they are at capacity. They just do service 1 day a week on Mondays, but we may have to look at expanding that to a second day. And Bev Schmaman and her volunteers have done an amazing job of providing food security for our seniors, but we know there are still many in need. And it's due to the stigma behind food banks, which is one of the biggest deterrents for our seniors reaching out when they are in need. With the growth of the Perishable Food Recovery Program, which began in 2019, we continue to see, I hate to use the word thrive, but our partnerships within the community. We work very closely with other organizations and community groups who are dealing with food security and insecurity in our communities. And one of the ones that we're most proud of is the School Meal Snack Program, which began in 2016. And whether the school has just a simple sharing basket or sit-down breakfast and or lunch, the schools will place their orders with the food bank on a Wednesday, and on Monday, or first day of the school week, the following week, their order is delivered. We don't run the programs. That's up to the schools. We are just the provider of the food. The food bank, I have to say that we were very fortunate to receive a grant for our full budget for the school program through Breakfast Club of Canada. And so we've had this school year completely funded, and we're now fundraising for the 2023-2024 school year. It's quite alarming, though, the number of students that are now accessing these programs at school. And these are numbers provided by the individual schools. So we're now seeing over 2,600 elementary students and almost 2,500 senior school students benefiting from some kind of a school meal snack program. So we've seen a sizable increase in the numbers. And if the children are hungry, they cannot learn. So the testimonials that we receive from the schools endorse the program and what we're doing. We do have concerns about next year's budget, though. So just to give you a bit of information about perishable food recovery, we were just recently at the home show, and one of the things we focused on was the difference between an expiration date and best before date. So best before date is, there's a lot of misunderstanding about that. When it hits the best before date, there's still life after that. And we have a whole chart with the different categories of food and what their life is after a best before date. So some of the manufacturers are now changing best before to better before, which I think gives a little more flexibility in that. In June 2019, we were well, actually, it started in 2018. We were approached by Food Banks Canada to be a pilot project for perishable food recovery, but we didn't have the facility. We didn't have the footprint to do it. Then in January, they came back to me and said, look, we will give you this grant, which would provide all of the equipment, including a refrigerated vehicle, if you can find the location. So we were very fortunate to find about, I think it was about 1,000 square feet, maybe 1,200, in just off 224th and the little alley in behind Bell Locksmith, which is the backside of the Trevor Linden building. And it was just a bare warehouse. It used to be the back end of the bakery. So we were able to go in and set up our walk-in cooler, our walk-in freezer, our floor scales. We had drying racks. We had a tote washing system. All of this was funded by grants that came through not only Food Banks Canada, but Enterprise Canada, Walmart Foundation, BC Government, and Food Banks BC. We are now picking up from all of the major grocery stores throughout the community every day of the week except Christmas Day. That's 364 days a year. And the food is placed in totes by the grocers, by the stores, and they, when they're picked up, they're brought back to the perishable facility, and they are then separated as to what's good for human consumption and what's good for farm use. And it's almost 50-50. 50% we can repurpose for charitable use, not just for the clients at the food bank, but we share it with other organizations in the community. And 50% goes to fresh farm feed, which also includes composting. So it's 100% diversion from landfills. The data that we collect is through Food Mesh, and they are an organization which began back in about 2018. And that was really through a push from Save On Foods to start a perishable food recovery program. So they put together their data collection system, and it's focused on recovery of food waste. So it's minimum waste of food diverted from landfills, and recording the impact it has on the community and our environment. So the item that we were not really focused on when we started this program was CO2 emissions. And if we go to the next slide, the chart, this is data collected by Food Mesh. Do I have to do this? Nope. Okay. This is this is just the cumulative report of everything we've done since June 2019 to the end of last month, April. And I like to use the middle column, which is the total in pounds. So we have diverted over 4 million pounds of food from landfills. And you can see there that the split is 50-50 when you include the compost with the farm feed. The value that can be, and this is through formulas, the value of the meals donated is over $5 million. And the last one is the CO2 emissions, which we were not aware of when we started this program, the impact it would have. But we have saved more than 4.6 million kilograms in CO2 emissions. So, and on the last slide, it's just to give you a visual of this year, we are trying to move away from the single-use plastics. So the farm feed was always put into clear plastic bags. We have now moved to a tote system. And we've seen a reduction in over 60% of the plastic that we were purchasing for this program. And we hope to see it continue to reduce. So through funding from Food Banks Canada and the Maple Ridge Community Foundation, we were able to buy totes dedicated for farm product. And that's, I'm over time. May I do my conclusion? Okay. So to provide these essential services in the community, funding for the operations of the food bank is an ongoing concern, and we appreciate the support that the City of Maple Ridge has provided in previous years, most recently in 2021 in support of our perishable food recovery program. We continually fight to keep our expenses in check and seek funding opportunities to replace and upgrade equipment. Grants play an important role, and without the support of our local businesses, service organizations, individuals, municipal, provincial, and federal governments, Food Banks Canada and Food Banks BC, our operations would not be able to expand to meet the demand for food security. On behalf of the directors, staff, and volunteers of the Friends in Need Food Bank, I would like to thank the residents of Maple Ridge for their continued support. And we'd also like to invite the mayor, when he reappears, and council to join us for a volunteer shift at one of the food banks or the perishable food recovery facility, or to have a tour and give you a better, clearer understanding of what we do and the services we provide. And lastly, I'd like to thank our wonderful volunteers, our staff, and our board of directors for helping to make the food bank that a food bank that this community can be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Council, do you have any questions or comments? Councillor Youssef?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mary, for the wonderful presentation, and more importantly, for all the work that you have done and continue to do in our community. Madam Chair, I'm a little biased as I am a volunteer and a board member with the Friends in Need Food Bank. Nevertheless, it's been really a thorough education that I've received during my time of involvement with the Friends in Need Food Bank, and not only how we can do better within our community, but also in how wonderful a community and generous a community it is. And I'd like to echo Ms. Robson's words and invitation for not just us around the table, but for the community at large to get involved with the Friends in Need Food Bank, to volunteer, to donate, more importantly, as much as we can. And as the saying goes, a friend in need is a friend indeed. So thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Youssef. Councillor Carreras?
Thank you very much for the presentation. It was having the numbers in there is always, I guess, a stark reminder of the really important need in our community. And I know it's your 30th anniversary, and I just, it's a strange place, right? Because you want to celebrate that 30 years, but also it's 30 years of need that we've had in our community. So it's an important milestone about the dedication of the people in our community, those 30 years of making sure that people are fed and they're healthy. And in particular, I want to thank you for your work with the school district. Obviously, in my pastoral, we had a lot of work together, and it is true, children need to be fed to be able to learn. And that was great. I thank you so much for the invite to volunteer. It'd be great if we could do it as a team. I know my husband's work, once a quarter, they shut down the office and everybody goes and volunteers, predominantly Vancouver and Surrey, because that's where they're located. And my husband has really, it's been very impactful for him, the time that the company, I wish more companies would do that, just shut down, go out and do some community work. So it's been a real eye opener for him to go out and see, and it's everyday people that are looking for help. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Councillor Tan?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thank you for the presentation. It is really difficult to see the number of new registrants we have already received in 2023 and the number projected up to 600, and just looks like we're projecting about a 60% increase in our total registrants just in 1 year, if I'm understanding this correctly. Do you have a sense of the demographics of the folks who have recently registered for the food bank, in terms of age, in terms of, like housing situation, any sort of information?
Yeah, we do have detailed statistics on that. And we've had a great influx in Ukrainian families in the community. They are probably the highest of newcomers percentage-wise, through a community organization to help Ukrainians resettle in this community. We probably have about 60 families registered with the food bank. As far as demographics, the highest percentage are families of 2 to 3, and most of them are single moms with one or two children. That's the largest percentage, I would say. But I can certainly pull any detailed stats that you would like to know. But the big concern is the percentage of the number of children 18 and under and our seniors. And that just says it all right there.
Thank you so much. Yes, that little bit of that information is helpful, and just anything to really understand the situation that we're finding ourselves in. And I think that reminds us that it's our job as council to see what we can do in terms of policies to make sure that there are fewer people who need the food bank. As wonderful as the services the food bank provides, what can we do on our end to make sure folks don't require that service? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Tan, and thank you, Mary, for your presentation. And just thinking about, as you say, 30 years in, it doesn't seem like a short-term project anymore. I think it is really positive though to this, this perishable food recovery. In some ways I could see a different situation where that food was being wasted. And so in some ways, I sort of think this is an opportunity, hopefully, for the city and for the public to kind of rethink the way they think perhaps about the food bank. At the end of the day, this is a resource that we have in the community. And it's good that people can access it and make use of it. And I mean, I love this stuff about the CO2 emissions being saved.
Yeah.
And it's just a great example of how we can achieve climate goals while delivering other really important services. So
Absolutely.
thank you for coming today. And thank you for your invitation to council to learn more.
Thank you. And I'll just end by saying there's no reason for anyone in our community to go hungry. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk, what is the next item on the agenda?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next item on the agenda is item 5.1, rezoning file number 2023-052 to rezone from RS1 to RM4 to allow for 26 townhouse units. Staff are in attendance to present the application to council.
Thank you. Please go ahead with the presentation whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is an application in relation to 22238 124 Avenue, and it's for first reading. So the existing OCP is ground-oriented multifamily, and that's also the proposed OCP designation. The existing zoning is RS1, single detached residential, and they're looking to rezone to RM4, medium density townhouse and apartment residential. The existing lot area is 4,861.88 meters squared, and the proposed lot area after the road dedication would be 4,136.15 meters squared. The proposed units is 26 market strata townhouses. The subject map is shown on the screen. The subject property is outlined in red. And here you can see that it's in an area surrounded by ground-oriented multifamily. The orthophoto is shown. So there's townhouses to the left and surrounding it. So the development proposal is to rezone the subject property from RS1 to RM4, medium density townhouse and apartment residential, and construct a townhouse development with 26 market strata dwelling units. All of the units are configured as 3-bedroom townhouses. They would make a community amenity contribution of $5,700 per unit, which comes to an estimated total of $148,200 or such rate applicable at third reading. The density would be 0.9 floor space ratio based on the proposed lot area, and they're utilizing the base allowable density of 0.75 FSR and additional density through a density bonus contribution. And that contribution would be $215,217.75. Vehicular access to concealed ground level parking would be from Hillside Street. So their required residential off-street parking is 52 spaces, and they are providing that. They're also providing the required visitor off-street parking spaces, which is 6 spaces. Long-term bicycle parking will be provided in each individual unit, and short-term bicycle parking, they're required to provide 4 spaces, but they're providing 6. In terms of variances, the proposed development will require several setback variances, and the setbacks are shown on the screen. So for the front lot line, the principal building setback would be 4.22 meters, down from 7.5 meters. For the rear lot line, the principal building setback would be 5.79 meters, down from 7.5 meters. For the interior side lot line, the principal building setback would be 4.55 meters, down from 7.5 meters. And for the exterior side lot line, the principal building setback would be 4.76 meters, down from 7.5 meters. There's some associated building projection setback variances that are shown on the screen. The site plan is shown here. And here's the building elevations and some perspectives. The report recommendations are that the zone amending bylaw be given first reading and that the applicant be required to provide required information. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I get a motion that staff report dated May 16th, 2023, regarding file 2023-052 be forwarded to the council meeting of May 23rd, 2023? Moved by Councillor Youssef, seconded by Councillor Carreras. Are there any questions from members of council? All right, I'll jump in. Just wondering if you could just provide a little bit more information about the setbacks, the projections specifically. I'm just trying to understand what those are.
Yeah, so the building projection setback variances are required for stuff like balconies that protrude past the building face.
Gotcha. Thank you very much. Okay, are there any other questions? Seeing none, I will, sorry, Councillor Tan, please go ahead.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Just a quick question, please. Could you describe to us the green cover requirements for a development like this?
Yeah, so there's some outdoor amenity space required and common open area, and those requirements have been met.
Thank you. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Seeing no further questions, I will, sorry, go ahead, Councillor Clares.
Sorry, it's just a follow-up on your question around the setbacks. And you had mentioned that it's because of balconies, but when I look at, and I know this is just first reading, but it doesn't look like there are any balconies on this building. It looks like they're going to have rooftop balconies.
It's for balconies and other stuff like eaves. The specific section in the zoning bylaw is referenced.
Oh, okay, so it could be other things. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Seeing no further questions, I will call the vote. All those in favor of forwarding this item to the council meeting of May 23rd, 2023, and that is unanimous. The item carries. Madam Clerk, what is the next item on the agenda?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next item on the agenda is item 6.1, the award of contract for 2023 pavement rehabilitation program phase 1. Staff are in attendance to answer questions about the file.
Thank you. Can I get a motion that staff report dated May 16th, 2023 regarding the award of contract 2023 pavement rehabilitation program phase 1 be forwarded to the council meeting of May 23rd, 2023? Moved by Councillor Youssef, seconded by Councillor Tan. Thank you. Are there any questions from council? Councillor Tan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm curious through you to staff if this might be, if staff could walk me through if this might be a good opportunity to look at increasing green cover around our roads. I'm not familiar with road rehabilitation and pavement rehabilitation, but is this a good time for us if we're already doing work on the roads to then maybe look at increasing landscaping cover or green cover or tree cover or any of that sort?
Through the chair to Councillor Tam. It's through the chair to Councillor Tam. So what this is more of road resurfacing. So milling and paving of existing roads. Probably through my colleague Forrest and engineering is when we would probably discuss when we're doing roads on a little more of the green cover and boulevards and stuff like that. Yeah.
Maybe I'll just add to that. And so thank you, Walter. And so what Walter has is a package in front of you, which is really an asphalt restoration program. And so this is really just about that asphalt surface. We do work with the operations team to determine if there are improvements that can be made on the corridors when they're doing the asphalt repairs. So if there's anything specific that jumps out at you, we're happy to take those in and consider them. But really what we're doing right now is looking at the asphalt surface and determining if we have the appropriate width there, and we have the appropriate laning, those sorts of things that apply to the road and the asphalt. We're trying to address those now through this program. When we come forward with more fulsome packages, like a whole neighborhood restoration plan, similar to say one we have on 123rd Avenue that we're working through design right now with the community. As we do those more fulsome projects, where we're doing water utilities, sewer utilities, doing asphalt, multi-use path, street lighting, street trees, that's when we have that more fulsome discussion about that road corridor. And so that could be a later discussion, but certainly something that's on our radar that we work through.
Thank you, staff. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Youssef.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to staff for those clarifications. Through you, Madam Chair, to staff, as I'm looking at the 16 roads that are identified for rehabilitation, some of them tend to be quite major roads and well utilized within our community. So my question is, have we considered, or through the issuing of this contract, having the work done outside of daytime hours in order to spare further congestion and inconvenience to our residents?
Through the chair, and in high anticipation of that question, Councillor Youssef, there is a couple of items on there. The Dewdney Trunk Road from Lougheed to 203rd. That will be happening in the afternoon toward evenings. As mentioned earlier, it's not always easy to do night paving in residential areas, as we get more complaints for keeping neighbors and residents awake. However, that being said, we also have a couple of high volume roads that we're actually looking on weekend work as well to have it paved.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. And thank you for anticipating my questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Yes, good question and good response. Okay, seeing no more questions, I will call the vote. All those in favor of forwarding this item to the council meeting of May 23rd, 2023. That is unanimous and carries. Madam Clerk, what is the next item on the agenda?
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is item 10, Community Forum. Participants in the Community Forum are reminded that there should be no discussion of public hearing bylaws which have not yet reached conclusion. Each speaker will have 2 minutes to speak to council. A second opportunity may be provided once all speakers in the queue have had an opportunity to speak. The total allotted Community Forum time is 15 minutes. If you wish to inquire about additional opportunities to address council, please contact the corporate officer. For members of the public who would like to speak during the forum, if you're participating electronically, please register as a speaker by clicking on the microphone icon in the One Meeting portal and turn on your camera and clearly state your name and city of residence before beginning comments. If you're in the gallery, please come forward to the podium when the mayor invites speakers and clearly state your name and address before beginning your comments. If you choose to, you may wish to provide your address to the corporate officer after you speak.
Thank you very much. Does anyone from the public wish to address council? Not seeing anyone here in chambers. Do we have anyone participating online? All right, seeing none, we will move on to the next item on the agenda, please.
Thank you. As we've reached the end of the agenda, this last item is 11, adjournment.
Wonderful. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Councillor Youssef, seconded by Councillor Tam. All those in favor? Adjourned. Thank you, everyone.